wrestling, leg locks, and back attacks. That's kind of the meta for jiu-jitsu now.
I think it's always getting out, up, and back to a weapon to deal with that threat and see where the additional threats are coming from.
But one of my goals is to kind of unite everybody, at least in a training environment where everybody gets better from each other. All high-level wrestlers train with all the other high-level wrestlers.
Welcome to the Patriot Point Show. I'm Alexander Gordy. I'm here with my buddy Steffen and Randy. So I had a question for Steffen today, and it has to do with jiu-jitsu. I noticed that there's been a lot of wrestling that has been brought into the sport. A lot of people are trying to seek wrestling training and everything, and I know you personally do a lot of wrestling training and stuff. And so I really wanted your opinion on what is the big advantage, what you're doing to achieve a certain level and everything, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, so I think that the biggest reason that things have transitioned to be a lot more, standing based instead of just on the ground, or at least that transitional period is a lot more emphasized now, is due to a lot of the sport transitioning to more of a no-gi or a submission grappling based rule set and training regimen. Obviously in the gi, in the kimono, it's a little easier to play a bottom position just because you have your grips, right? And you're able to control your opponent, using your legs and leverage and obviously the grips, the hand grips, the pant grips, mainly the grip fighting and that type of deal. And then now with no-gi, especially with, scoring rule sets like ADCC or submission only based rule sets, it pays to be a top player, right? It pays to be on the top, dictating the pace of the fight. The cool thing about being, having a wrestling or judo background or some type of background where you're able to, stay standing if you want to, is you're really able to dictate the where the match takes place. Same for MMA, right? We talked a little bit about pre-show, pardon me, about, a lot of MMA champions having a wrestling background is because if I want to stand with you, and let's say I want to strike with you from an MMA-based perspective, I can do those things, but if I want to take you to the ground, I can do that as well. And then if I don't want to be on the ground, well, you can't take me down either. So it kind of is you're able to dictate where the fight takes place. If I want to keep it standing, it's standing. If I want to take it to the ground, I can take it to the ground. And then from a no-gi perspective, being able to dictate, again, where the fight takes place. And then also with the lack of grips, it's a lot harder to play bottom position. You still see guys playing it effectively, but a lot of times it's in the smaller weight class side of things, right? You see guys like Mikey Musumeci, Diego Pato, these really, intricate guard players that play a lot of leg-based attacks, and a lot of those kind of, off-balancing opponents scooping under the opponent. You see a lot of that. But at the bigger weight classes, that I'm in, which is kind of 215 up, it's harder to play bottom, and it's more exhausting to play bottom. And then a lot of times with these rule sets, sometimes you'll have, for instance, ADCC, whether it's an open trials or the actual event, the first half of the match, however long it may be, is no points, right? So it dictates, that people can play a little bit looser, but it's helpful to be on the top most of the time, just because you're controlling the pace of the match, right? That's the big thing, right? Especially if you have good cardio and things along those lines. Being on top, you're able to kind of start tiring and wearing on your opponent. That's the big thing too. And then also, obviously, if you're standing and you're able to take your opponent down, starting off, if there's points, starting off with 2 usually, starting off on that advantage is really helpful. I played a lot of guard coming up through the collar belt ranks, but I wrestle. I mean, that's probably at least half of my training. Shout out to Andy Rovat. That's probably half my training now, if not more. And I'm mainly only training no-gi right now, and there's just a huge difference. Being able to take somebody down. It's also a psychological effect as well, right? Because I'm grabbing you and I'm placing you in a position I want you in whenever I want it, right? Generally.
Yeah.
It's kind of
and you're going against good people. You're D1 players or D1 wrestlers, all over the training place where you're at.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely get to train with some good guys, and it's been helpful. I think also kind of like how jiu-jitsu is now with wrestling, it's learning how to wrestle in jiu-jitsu. It definitely pays to have a Division I background or any type of college wrestling experience or high school or whatever. But wrestling for jiu-jitsu is a little different than traditional folk style or freestyle wrestling, just because it's more of a scrimmage-based type wrestling, more to where you have to be able to place your opponent on the ground and keep them there, right? Versus in wrestling, if let's say I duck you or I take you down and I'm on top, I scored, we'll reset in the center, the matches are shorter, and then you pick bottom position, you get up. Like for instance, folk style, you're bottom, you're top, or you're neutral, right? Versus in jiu-jitsu, a lot of times when you take somebody down, now they're in their guard position, which they may be very dangerous in their guard. And not only am I trying to pass, but I need to ensure you stay down too. So there's this dichotomy of now I have to keep enough pressure to where I'm keeping you on your back, but not so much pressure to where I'm overcommitting my pressure, and then you're able to get underneath me or start to get your attacks off. So that's kind of the whole deal. But I definitely think that that learning how to wrestle is super important, at least for knowing how to counter wrestling and knowing how to not to get taken down and those things, right? Just like leg locks. You may not be a leg locker, but if you don't know how to defend leg locks, you're going to get your legs broken, you know, in a tournament setting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, so for people that wanted to maybe get more expertise at the wrestling and thing, what would you suggest is like a way that they can find coaching on that, or they can add it to their jiu-jitsu? I mean, besides coming to your gym.
Yeah.
Literally.
So that's the hard thing. So Laurence and I, my business partner, we're opening up, we have our grand opening tomorrow for the Grappling Institute. It's in downtown Dallas, right off of, it's at 800 Main Street. It's on the 15th floor, really beautiful facility. But we're going to be bringing in 2 people to help with this standing game, at least with weekly classes. One, Andy Rovat, he's one of my wrestling mentors. He wrestled in 2008 Olympics. He's a 3-time All-American from Michigan. Has coached at the Olympic level for a long time. And then the other guy is one of my buddies. I'm not going to butcher his name, but we can put it in the caption. But he's Japanese. He's an Olympic silver medalist in the 100 kilo division. So I'm planning on talking to him some more and seeing about him coming in to at least teach a weekly class. It is really hard being an adult trying to find wrestling. I wrestled a little bit in high school for like a semester, but now I'm able to go well with pretty high level guys. But it's just because I've chased and pursued that outside of it. But I remember pre-meeting Andy and some of the other guys I know now, I was struggling to find that standing training. I was looking up I would look up online wrestling privates in the DFW area, and now we've had an influx of some high level guys. But it's hard to, because you can look up jiu-jitsu and 20 gyms are going to pop up. You can look up judo, maybe not 20, but a few gyms will pop up. But to find wrestling training post high school, post college, it's very difficult for adults.
Sometimes you can find them at MMA gyms.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's, when I was training in MMA, wrestling class was one of the classes that you had to go to, if you wanted to be a balanced MMA fighter.
Yeah.
Right?
I will say the caveat with that though, Randy, is a lot of times that class has a striking component to it. I don't know if yours did, but a lot of times it's, at least the MMA gyms that I've trained at, like Fortis and stuff, it's a little bit of wrestling, but it's a lot of okay, once you hit the ground, now punch them as hard as punch them pretty hard.
Yeah, ground and pound.
Yeah, ground and pound. They're going to try to fight their way up. They're working with strikes. So it's kind of a little different just from a pure grappling standpoint.
Yeah, I trained at the arena in San Diego, and there we had Muay Thai class, Jiu-Jitsu class, wrestling class. So they were all separate.
Okay.
And then you had one class that, then you went to
Blended.
MMA class, and that kind of married them all together. But, San Diego, there's a handful of, real MMA gyms there. So here in Dallas, I think you're most likely correct. It's tough as a, as an adult to find a strict wrestling.
Yeah.
There's no wrestling gyms or businesses,
Something you can do, and something that I did pre-meeting Andy and stuff, is I would occasionally go to wrestling clubs and see if I could join. Obviously, they're going to make you do a safe sport thing and register, and you're going to have a clean background check. But you shouldn't be around kids if you don't anyway. But they would always run my background check clean. I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt, high level. And so come on, man, join in. And that happened a few times, and I was able to do that when I wanted to. But again, a lot of times I was driving an hour to get out to the location, or I'd be at a high school, and I'm not a small person. And so it'd be hard to find a high school close to my size. I was having the heavy weights, and, they still have more of a boy strength than a man's strength. And so there was that kind of issues that you'd run into. But yeah, no, wrestling is huge to, especially to the no-gi aspect of things. No-gi's kind of broken down, in my opinion, now to wrestling, leg locks, and back attacks. That's kind of the meta for jiu-jitsu now. It's, if you pass somebody's guard, it's very hard to maintain top, cross side control or side control. A lot of times guys are going to be turtling up, they're going to be building to a base, or trying to get amplitude and try to stand up and, reface you or fight hands and that type of thing. So it's important to learn how to, wrestle.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I noticed with the increase of the no-gi seems to be very, very popular right now. And so it seems like the wrestling has came on with that change. It's probably just they go hand in hand, less because of the grip, like you said, the grips.
The lack of
and everything.
grips, the lack of grips. And then also Now, like, yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of times who can get on top wins, and you see a lot now with the ADCC rules scoring. A lot of tournaments are bringing in certain negative calls for guard pulling, and I think they're trying to turn jiu-jitsu, specifically no-gi, into more of a spectator sport. And everybody would always ask me, why isn't jiu-jitsu in the Olympics? And for one reason is because it's terrible to watch most of the time as a pure spectator, not knowing what the sport is. Like, I can watch football and I see these big hits and I see these, super big guys running across the field really fast. Interesting to watch that level of athleticism and that level of gamesmanship and things along those lines. But when you watch jiu-jitsu and you get two guys sitting to their butt and they're both playing inside 50-50 with a lapel wrap, it's very boring to watch. And they're seesawing back and forth for an advantage point or 2 points. How many world titles have we seen get decided by 50-50 sweeps? So that is not a spectator sport. So now that they're trying to turn it more into a spectator sport, they're prioritizing a lot of the standing fighting, because big amplitude throws and, feet to back throws where guys are getting lifted and return to the mat it's exciting to watch, right? That's why wrestling is a lot of times exciting to watch, because you see these massive throws, dudes getting tossed in their face.
It's a more dynamic sport.
It's a more dynamic sport. And then from the flip side of that, if the match starts and guys just sit to their butt, it can be, and that was what I did for many years, like, no shame. I won a lot of matches in that way. And if I need to do it now, I'll do it. But generally speaking, I would prefer to, take my opponent down, break them mentally with a hang-up fight, and then, get to a good position and finish them.
Yeah.
Well, being a black belt, I've gone against lots of wrestlers, and I always felt like those were the mentally toughest guys, but to go against. So what wrestling practice does, right? I not being a wrestler myself, but just going against enough of them and having a lot of friends that were wrestlers, I'm like, man, these guys are tough and they're relentless and they just keep coming, and they're going to keep coming until they don't have anything left. So I think adding that to your jiu-jitsu, that kind of mentality, right, just makes a jiu-jitsu practitioner even more dangerous. You give a jiu-jitsu practitioner that wrestler's mentality, plus some of the skills that Steffen's talking about adding, man, you got a super dangerous person.
Yeah.
Any
suggestion for jiu-jitsu people, short of learning wrestling, how to, compete against somebody with a wrestling if they don't have any formal training in wrestling?
Pull guard.
Pull guard, that's what that's
the whole thing. I mean, you can do some things.
Put a gi on them.
Yeah, put a gi on them. Yeah, put a gi on them. Yeah, take the first two, and they double at you, from 20 feet away.
You put a gi on them, you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Slow them down.
Like I said, I don't think people need to become super high level wrestlers to be able to fight, but you at least have to know how to not get taken down. Like, I don't need to have the leg lock ability of, in my opinion, Pato is the best leg locker in the world right now. I don't need to have Pato's ability on the legs, but I should know if somebody my size with Pato's ability gets a hold of my legs, what I need to do to at least extricate myself from that situation and then kind of bring them back into my game. Like, I don't need to become a wrestler. That was my own personal choice. I wanted to be able to do what wrestlers do to other people. Right. I wanted to do that to other people, and so then I needed to acquire that skill. And like you said, the mental toughness is a huge deal of it too. I mean, wrestling practice will just break you down mentally. They're long, they're grueling, they're hot. You got somebody pulling your head and yanking you down. It's not necessarily fun. I feel like a lot of people, they join jiu-jitsu because it's fun, right? It's kind of like, I get to hang out with my friends and I do the, 5-minute rounds. At the end, and we're talking, we're drilling. It's definitely not wrestling practice.
Yeah.
It's in essence a whole different sport. But if you can get that, like you said, that mental toughness from wrestling and just that physical ability to keep pushing past, your breaking point. Like a lot of wrestlers, they're athletes. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys aren't athletes, right? You're going to see your 65-year-old lawyer on the mats having fun, which is needed, and we're going to have a lot of those guys at our gym, hopefully. They just want to train and have fun and get better. You're not going to see anybody 65 wrestling, most likely, outside of coaching, right? And there's a couple guys maybe, but a lot of times they're beat up. I mean, it's a hard sport. It's much harder on the body.
Yeah.
But having the ability to take somebody down, I mean, even from a self-defense standpoint, I know a lot of guys that do jiu-jitsu, and I still think they're going to do much better in a real-life street altercation or some type of altercation than somebody that doesn't train, just because they know what it feels like to be grabbed and they know what it feels like to maybe be slammed on the ground or something.
They're not going to freak out.
They're not going to freak out as much. But if you have a college wrestler versus your average jiu-jitsu guy, the college wrestler is going to pick him up, his feet are going to turn to the sky, his head's going to turn toward the ground, and then it's going to be over. You're never going to even have anything happen on the ground, right? Because a lot of times, you're getting hit with the earth, in essence, right? I'm not hitting you, I'm taking you, and the earth is hitting you by me putting you into the ground. And so that's a lot of people train jiu-jitsu and they feel like, they're, let's say, a guard player in the gi and they specialize in closed guard and butterfly or spider guard. And like, you get smoked in any type of street altercation, even with like a Division I football player or just somebody that is physical, that grew up with brothers, has a good chance of beating you up. It's just going to pick you up and slam you or hit you one time really hard. So it's important to learn other things and to also be able to take the fight. Like jiu-jitsu's ground, isn't it your responsibility as a practitioner to be able to take the fight to where your sport is? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would get asked the question a lot, like as an operator, like, hey, do you like gi or no gi better? And when I first started learning jiu-jitsu, I was strictly no gi because downrange, the majority of my combat was all Afghanistan. Well, these guys were Manjans, but they were super thin. And sometimes they didn't have shirts on, right? A lot of times they didn't have a shirt on, And so I'm like, I want to do no-gi. I want to do no-gi. That's what the enemy is mostly like. Well, the thing is, I'm covered in frickin' handles, right? My chin strap. Somebody gets a hold of my chin strap, right? What am I going to do then? My kit, right? And even at the time, my op top had a zipper and a collar, right? And I would always fold my sleeves, right, up like 2 times and give them a perfect shelf grip. So for me, I think it was important to train both, right? Because I'm kind of in a gi, right? A lot of handles. And they might not be. So I need to have answers for both of these things, right? And if somebody gets a hold of my kit or a hold of my chin strap and they start slinging me around by it, I better have an answer for that, right? And going to your gun is not always the answer, right? Because if you're pulling me around by the head and I try to deploy my pistol, I'm just going to launch that thing like a discus half the time.
Well, I'll say this to that. Would you ever sit to your butt?
Never.
Exactly.
Never.
That's
ever.
what I mean by. I think, like I said, I still think it's very important to train in the gi.
Yeah.
When we talk about takedowns, I just using wrestling as kind of like another word, like for standing fighting in a way of grappling standing. Like I think judo would probably be fantastic for. If somebody grabs your kit, and you get the grip breaks and the way the hip throws, the headlock throws, the over/under throws. That's right. That's something to think about. What I mean more of being in the gi, it's more like playing bottom position. Yeah. Like from what I was saying, like somebody being unprepared for a street scenario would be like somebody that strictly pulls guard in training, strictly plays half guard. Right. Think about half guard. Your side of your head is exposed to the top of your opponent's elbow, fist, whatever. I mean, you're going to get hit 2 or 3 times while you're trying to wrestle up and get smoked. And so, like you said, somebody grabbing you from standing, slinging you around, well, a double leg or a big takedown or a judo throw if they're wearing something or an underhook throw. And a lot of things, too, like we see, like the whizzer kick in wrestling is the uchimata in judo, right? Like a lot of the over-under throws, like the Baliglazov is like an outside trip in judo. Like an osotogari is like an outside trip. It's like a reaping throw, right? And that's kind of the translation. You're reaping the leg. So a lot of applications for gi and no gi is standing fighting. Like a lot of freestyle is very similar to a lot of the judo. Outside of some of the, like even an arm spin throw is a seoinage in judo, right? It's kind of that, you're dropping and you're throwing them over you. But when I meant, I don't know if I refer to it just as gi, but when I meant being on bottom and being comfortable there, that's more saying like pulling guard. And you can do that in a no gi aspect as well, right?
Yeah, as an operator, I would never pull guard.
Never sit down.
Never.
Right, it's just not applicable for that really gamifies it in the sport setting, which is totally fine.
Doesn't mean I couldn't be tackled and somebody end up between my legs.
Exactly. You have
and
to
I have to know how to
exactly.
answer that, right? And going for a triangle is not the answer there. Okay, going for an arm bar is not the answer there. Okay, because you always have to worry about multiple attackers. Right. So even when I teach my self-defense stuff, I don't teach people things from jiu-jitsu. Right, we start to, other than like a technical stand-up, which I don't think jiu-jitsu invented, by the way. So I don't think the Gracies invented the technical stand-up.
No.
So I think people always ask me, who invented that? I'm like, Cain and Abel. They were the first brothers. They invented half of what we know.
He was trying to kick my head. I'm going to stand up.
So... for me, it's always, when I was operating, it's always getting out, up, and back to a weapon, to deal with that threat and see where the additional threats are coming from. And it's the same thing in a street fight.
Yeah, and if you're straight on hands-on, you want to be on top. Gravity's, everything, even...
Exactly.
And anything tactical, high ground is the best, right? And even throwing punches...
So there's a saying in land warfare, take the high ground before it takes you.
Exactly.
you know.
Right. Well, I guess one last question for you. I know there's a lot of competitions coming up this year and everything. So do you think that the amount of training you've done in wrestling and everything, expect to see a little bit different side of you coming up in competition this year?
Sure. I'm going to be throwing some guys, at least that's the plan.
Nice.
That's the plan, yeah.
Nice.
So we'll see. I don't like to speak about stuff before it's happened, but I put a lot of effort into my wrestling. You see it somewhat, like, that match I had a little over a year ago, who's number one. I threw that guy with an outside trip in the first couple seconds, and he spent the majority of the match on bottom. But it just makes things a lot easier. When you can just take somebody and you're going to go down, it just makes the match a whole lot easier. But yeah, no, for sure. That's the plan.
Good. I look forward to seeing that, honestly.
Thanks, Gordy.
So, Steffen, I got one more question for you. So you kind of hinted to it at the beginning, right? You got your gym opening up. Your big grand opening is tomorrow. So tell us about your gym a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, the gym is called the Grappling Institute. It has been a vision of Laurent Marion's and I's for a long time. Laurent is one of my jiu-jitsu mentors, kind of like an older brother to me, or an uncle. It's kind of the relationship that he and I have. Amazing guy. I've known him for, close to 10 years, basically since I first started training. And, he and I the last couple of years have been talking about, opening up our own thing and doing our own thing. And we found the perfect location. It's at the Fest facility, which is in downtown Dallas, kind of the historic area. It's like a lot of red brick buildings. We're right across from one of the federal buildings, like a couple doors down is the courthouse. Very safe. There's a lot of security around there. You always see cops and stuff. It's nice, especially coming from some of the places that I was teaching at before, where is maybe not quite the safest or the best areas. It's nice to be in a very safe building. You got to scan in. It's on the 15th floor, skyline views of Dallas, which is just beautiful. Inside, so our gym is located inside, like I said, the Fest facility, and Fest, it's a private training facility strictly garnered towards professional NFL and NBA athletes. So you'll see a lot of those, stars there, as you're doing the jiu-jitsu stuff and things along those lines. But it's just nice to be in an environment, where there's jacuzzis, hot tubs, saunas, cold plunge. We're building out a recovery room. There's full basketball courts, an Olympic-sized pool.
Oh, so it's great for old people like me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. Awesome. Can't wait to come check it out.
That's awesome. 1/8 mile track, pickleball courts, Pilates rooms for yoga. The list just goes on and on and on. Our space itself is about 2,500 square feet.
That's 30, big. That's big for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
About 30-foot ceilings. It's really nice. I'll boast about it, but a couple of my buddies, Mickey and stuff, he's like, hey, it's the gym that you see in the movies you don't think is real. That's kind of the vibe of it, right? Yeah. You were there, you checked it out.
It's like, I've never seen a jiu-jitsu gym that looked anything like this, honestly. Like, there's nothing in comparison, because it is an entire facility that offers a lot of things. So the space, the field, the 30-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
What jiu-jitsu gym has amenities?
None.
Right, you have amenities.
You have amenities, yeah.
Is the website up and running?
So, nope, we're a little bit behind the eight ball on some of those things. Okay. We've just been so focused on creating the facility as nice as we can.
Cool.
But the website should be up in the next week. Grand opening is tomorrow. Our first post about it yesterday. We're just really excited. We wanted to create, and we are creating something really unique. Zero politics. We're going to figure out, a lot of people have asked me who you're going to affiliate under and things like that. I'm still going to compete under Joao. Wherever Joao goes, I'm going to go. He switched teams a couple times just for what he needed to do. And I'm always going to follow him and his brother Pedro wherever they go. So I don't know where I'm going to be at. But the affiliation that we're going to put ourselves under, we're not exactly sure yet. We're kind of building up a competition team with Mickey and Joao and Pedro and all these guys. So my ideal vision, which I haven't really spoken about in a lot, is kind of have our own Dream Art type of team, which Dream Art was a team affiliated with Alliance. They were Alliance for a number of years. It was kind of all the best guys under that team competing under kind of their own banner in a way. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work, as the future goes on, but we want zero politics, zero injuries, zero weirdos. We already have a lot of women that pre-signed up. We want women to feel very comfortable. That's a big thing too. Mm-hmm. A lot of the gyms that I go to, you get the women train there, and then the guy hits them up with a DM after, thanks for the round. We should grab a drink sometime soon. That's not going to ever happen from any of the instructors or the other male participants in the gym. We want women to feel welcome and feel like they can go there. I hate to use the word safe zone just because I feel that word is overused, but we want them to feel welcome and comfortable. We want them to feel like it's a second home. We don't want jiu-jitsu to be a stressful area or you're wondering if you're going to get hit on or anything like that. We just want you to be able to come there and train, learn a vital skill for defending yourself and your loved ones, have fun, meet people, make great friends. A lot of my great friends, I wouldn't know any of you guys if it wasn't for my jiu-jitsu, right? So it's given me so much, you know, I mean, my job that I work is my 9 to 5 now. I got it because the guy that got it for me trains jiu-jitsu. So it's kind of, it's given me so many of my opportunities in life, and we want to share that love and passion for the sport and for what it can offer people. So that's kind of our main focus on just creating a comfortable spot that's safe, that's really nice, that's secure, that people can learn high-level jiu-jitsu. You know, we're gonna have classes for beginners all the way up to elite guys. And I kind of like the word, like, there's no excuse when you're there, because, you know, we have the weight machines, we have the cardio machines, we have free weights, we have a beautiful mat space. You know, we're gonna have a lot of classes, so there's no excuse for somebody to come in and not be
Are you
fully
gonna have
fit.
a kids class?
Yep, so we're gonna build that out. I don't know if I'm gonna be teaching it, but we're gonna have a high-level black belt teach it. I don't really believe that. I always hated going into gyms and it to be like a purple belt teaching the kids class or a blue belt teaching the kids class. I just think a lot of things are missing. Like, when you reach that point of black belt, there's a certain maturity, you know, kind of forces you to mature in a way. Like, I got my black belt when I was 22 or 23. And it was like, from when I got it, 6 months later, I felt like I was a totally different person. Just the things that are expected out of you, the pressure I put on myself. I'm not saying that's everybody, but I felt like you really mature in a lot of ways. So we're gonna have a high-level black belt teach it, most likely a woman, just because we want, you know, the kids to feel very comfortable, and we just feel that may be the best thing to do. In my experience too, a lot of times women teach the best kids classes. That's just been my experience. Sometimes they teach the best adult classes too, but just in my experience, like the kids being able to bond and feel comfortable around, you know, especially at the very young age, they're used to spending most of the time around their mother. And so just for them to go to a space where there's a high-level woman, you know, and you know, that's kind of our plan. But yeah, I mean, we're just really excited. We want, you know, anybody's welcome to come in. We're gonna have some drop-in fees and some different things like that. You may need to pay if you come in, but we just want everybody to feel welcome. And again, no drama, no politics.
So wait, I can come to your gym, drop off my kid, and get a workout
100%.
in at the same time?
Yep.
So I can maximize my time?
100% ready.
And you get a massage after. They have a Thai massage.
Or a
place.
cold
Yeah,
plunge?
they have a high-level, like,
Or a
sport
sauna?
massage type.
Or a cold plunge?
Yep.
I mean, what ideal.
Yeah.
I've been, you know, who wouldn't want to go to this place?
Exactly, yeah, and
Right?
like, there's a place in.
I mean, because it's all about time efficiency. And a lot
Exactly.
of reasons adults don't work out now because they don't have time. But if you can go to jiu-jitsu class, right? Because jiu-jitsu is not for everybody.
100%.
Right? I mean, I wish it was. I love it. Right? You love it. But not everybody wants to do it. But if I could go there, bring my kid, put him with someone I trust, get my workout in at the same time. I mean, what a win-win.
Yeah.
I don't think there's another gym in Dallas that has anything like that. I think you guys are going to crush it, Steffen.
We've kind of monopolized everything in one place, which has been nice, right? And another thing too is the location in downtown Dallas. You know, right by the Bank of America building. There's the underground tunnel that leads to that. There's a lot of like legal law corporate offices right around us. So like, I was talking to a couple of my buddies that, you know, are attorneys or things like that, and they're like, oh yeah, I can just take my lunch break, walk 5 minutes down the road, train, you know, shower there because there's beautiful locker rooms, leather. I mean, when I first went in there, I didn't even know we had men's locker rooms. I went downstairs like a week ago after we'd already rented the space. I'm still exploring. The place is so big. And I opened up the door, and it's like, as far as you can see, these like beautiful lockers, leather lounge chairs, TVs. Like it's steam room that I didn't even know we had. I don't know if it's up and operational right now, but we're working on that. But there's just so much in the space, and I think Lorenzo and I are talking about, you know, limiting it at a certain number of people, at least in the beginning, just because we want to kind of control. Like I said, we want to make the environment exactly how we want it and to be our vision.
How big is your mat space?
It's about, I would put it right around 1,200 square feet. somewhere
That's
around there.
huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Would you put it right around there? Yes,
Yeah,
somewhere in
that's-
there.
yeah.
Between 1,000 and 1,200. And we have double that mat space already in storage that we're waiting to probably expand into at least either other rooms or just fill more of the space
So
out.
if you expanded in another room, and I like doing jiu-jitsu, and my kid likes doing jiu-jitsu, could I have my kid in kids class, and then I go to my adult class?
Yeah, we've thought of that, or another idea of ours is to, have a separate room for private lessons or things like
Yeah.
that. That's a little bit more private for people that may not want to, especially some of the NFL stars and NBA stars.
Yeah.
So if I want to practice my own jiu-jitsu,
Yeah, exactly.
I have that opportunity. My kid's practicing his, or if I don't like jiu-jitsu and I just want to go, I'm a mom and I just want to go get on the treadmill, or I just want to go work out, lift some weights, I have the opportunity for that. And if I'm a dad and I want to go do jiu-jitsu, I can be like, hey, Tommy, We practiced arm bars today. What'd you guys learn? Oh, we learned side control escapes. So now we get to go home, show each other what we learned, and family bond over jiu-jitsu. Guys, there's not another place like that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
I can't wait for it to open.
It's pretty incredible.
How freaking cool.
Another thing that people have been asking us about is the parking situation too. Ample street parking, especially the times we're going to be running classes. We haven't released a schedule yet, but tentatively it's going to be an early morning 6 to 7 a.m. or somewhere within that time zone, probably 6 to 7. And then in the evening times, we're going to be running, of course, like, the 6 to 8 p.m. class or a 6 to 7, 7 to 8 gi, no gi, probably transition there. And then, a certain number of days a week, we'll have a noon class as well. And then just kind of augment as needed. But thankfully, we have a full parking garage, like a 12-story parking garage. It's attached to the building. And there's also ample street parking. So parking should be no problem. Obviously, in the garage, it's going to be even more safe, because it's so nice. It's behind a raised gate, like a full, like kind of like chain link style gate that like raises up when you scan in.
Good. So all those ladies are going to come train with you and want to learn that self-defense. Won't have to at least use it in your parking garage.
Exactly.
Because they're going to be safe out there.
It's very safe. Another thing, there are a lot of homeless people in the Dallas area, but around our block, because of the Fed building, because of the courthouse, there's almost no vagrants, homeless, or anything around there. I mean, there's cops all around. I mean, it's a very safe, nice, clean environment.
I don't have to worry about my car getting broken into on training.
I mean, I park there, and it's peace of mind. Not so much at the other gyms that I've been at in the past. Right? Yeah. So that's something that we really prioritize. And we spent some time, and we could open this gym a year ago, but we really wanted to find the right location, the right people, and we feel kind of like everything. It's a medley of everything perfect together. So we're really excited and to provide some value to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just seeing the type of training that you're doing and the people that are involved and everything, I think this will be the Grappling Institute, the name. So it will be some of the best training in Dallas, honestly. For
sure. I mean, I think it'll be some of the best training. I mean, already just like our pro training group, like having Mickey kind of run it with Coach Nate, and then to have like me, like Friday, it was like 15, 20 people were in the training when you were there. Yeah. It's me, Joao Gabriel, Pedro Hosha. I mean, already those are some of the top, I mean, especially Joao and Pedro, and, I'm proving myself still a black belt, but those are some of the top guys in the world. I mean, Pedro for a couple of years held the #1 ranked heavyweight spot no-gi in the world. He's a Pans Open class champ. Joao's Joao's kind of won everything, right? Yeah. And so, some of the best training in the country is already in Dallas. We already have a lot of high-level guys here. And I've kind of taken it upon myself, along with Mickey, and he's really inspired me to kind of, now I feel like there's a lot of politics in the DFW area, as there is anywhere with jiu-jitsu. But one of my goals is to kind of unite everybody, at least in a training environment where everybody gets better from each other. Because if you look at wrestling, there's this dichotomy between, I want to talk about this too, there's this switch between wrestling and jiu-jitsu where all high-level wrestlers train with all the other high-level wrestlers. That's how they get better. Like I talked to Coach Rovat, and he's like, oh yeah, I'd go to Russia and I'm training with the best Russian guy that's in my weight class. And coming from a jiu-jitsu mentality, I was like, hey Andy, why would you do that? Right? Like, why would you train and show him what you like to do? And I was like, I want to get better, Steffen. Like, why wouldn't I do that? I was #1 ranked in the country at the time for the United States. I was already qualified for the Olympics. Why wouldn't I go wrestle the best guy in my weight class in Russia or in Azerbaijan or another area, another country, another state, whatever, to get even better? Yeah. Right? And so you see that, obviously it's a high level of competition too, like they want to win, but I think, not just in DFW, but in general, if people were able to combine with no drama, and that's not possible because some people are just bad apples. But generally speaking, you take out the bad apples. If everybody can not necessarily get under one flag, but at least under one gym, right. And as long as nobody's getting injured and there's no big like fights or drama, you're going to get better and you're going to get better faster. So I think that's something that Mickey and I really want to do. And the Grappling Institute will be somewhat a home for that. I don't know how many days we're going to have there at the pro training class. Right now it's held at Alliance Dallas, which is Joao Gabriel's gym. And he's been very welcoming. So shout out to Joao for kind of allowing us to use that space to kind of create, something special in the area. But ideally, Pedro's gym, 413 Jiu-Jitsu, a 413 Jiu-Jitsu in Southlake, Joao's gym, my gym, we're kind of cloistered around the DFW area, and we'll just kind of go in between. Ideally, we're going to create, already our group chat for the pro training is just every day there's more people in there.
Yeah, it's like 30-something.
It's 30-something people, maybe in a year it's 130, right? And so I would love it for it to be kind of like a new wave thing where people come in, they're welcome. Right now it's completely free. The only ask people in direct messaging me on Instagram saying, hey, how do I join the training? Don't be uncool, be a nice guy, be a nice person, be genuine. Don't injure anybody, and be at least the blue belt level, and you're pretty much welcome. And we even welcome some people that aren't blue belt level if they bring the good vibes, because we want positive energy in the room. So if you're that, hit me up and I'll get you in there. So that's kind of an open call to anybody in the DFW area or anybody passing through. Awesome. If you do injure anybody or you're a knucklehead, like I'll be the first one to tell you, doors right there, get out. But outside of that, people are welcome. We want people to feel welcome at, Lorenzo Mind Spot, the Grappling Institute. So we're really, I'm kind of wearing the hoodie right here. Yeah, well, we're really happy about it, man. It just feels like everything kind of comes together.
We're and I are waiting on ours.
Oh yeah, it's coming. We're really happy about it, and we just want to, welcome everybody. Like I said, tomorrow there's a grand opening, and I invited, which I think is rare. I invited most of, if not all, of the high-level black belts that are in the whole DFW area, and they're all going to be there, and that's something you don't see very often, right? You don't see a lot of these high-level guys mixing. It just doesn't happen. I don't understand why. I think that's something that needs to change. Because if I'm high level and you're high level, shouldn't we at least be good enough with each other to train weekly to get better?
Sounds like the Grappling Institute could be the catalyst.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, y'all are collecting everybody and just putting together the best team.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what it looks like it's happening.
Exactly. And another thing too, like Lorenzo and I don't care. Like you can stay at your gym, pay at your gym. We don't want to steal anybody's students. It's not our goal. And cross train with us whenever you want to. Our students are welcome to cross-train at any other gym they want to, or leave our gym if they want to. I think there's a lot of this like ownership that people feel like, Gordy's my student, I own him, I'm a black belt, he's mine. Right. And then there's kind of this master-slave relationship a lot of times in jiu-jitsu where it's like, oh man, my professor's a god. Like I remember when I first got my black belt, one of my buddies, I didn't know him super well, but he was in a gym that I trained at for a long time. He refused to call me anything other than professor. And I was like, I was Steffen yesterday. Now that I got my black belt, I got my black belt on Saturday, now it's Monday, and now I'm professor, man, I'm just Steffen, man. Obviously there's that respect if I'm on the mats coaching a coach, whatever. Yeah. But we just want it to be an open environment where everybody feels comfortable. If you want to leave our gym, goodbye, you're welcome to. We're not going to have these locked in contracts where it's hard to get out. If you want to cross train any other spot, you're welcome to. If people want to train with us, you're welcome to. If you want to train with us the majority of the time, be signed up at another gym and compete under that other gym, cool. We really don't care. And that's something that I know you don't see at any other gym. Not even in the area, at any other gym I've ever visited. That's a whole new kind of take on things, which is we kind of want to be a catalyst for that. I mean, you're paying for a service. I don't own you, you don't own me, right? If it's like if you're one of my instructors and I gave you the black belt and you haven't been paying there, and okay, I understand that there's a certain level of loyalty and a certain level of expectation between us. But if you're just my student for 2 years, I give you a blue belt, or even 10 years, I give you a black belt, you pay every month, I teach you every month. That's a transactional relationship. We can have a friendship outside of that. Yeah. But you're welcome to do whatever you want. I don't own anybody, and there's no expectations that come from that.
Yeah. Right. I think, looking at the gyms and everything, jiu-jitsu, the cross-training thing was, I know for majority of gyms, they didn't like cross-training. It just wasn't something you did, but I see that nowadays it seems to be more and more people are cross-training, but simply because they want to find the best fighters.
Exactly.
Find the best.
Exactly. And a lot of people, like I've met grown men that are like, hey, I would love to cross-train with you guys, but I can't be in the group picture because my coach could see it. And I'm like, but you're 27 or 28 years old, man. What do you mean another grown man can't see you in a picture? I don't really understand that. Yeah. Now, I understand on the flip side, if you're training in a gym that's notoriously dirty, right? And I don't need to mention names, but there's some in the area that are just nasty. And you're bringing in that funk and you're bringing in that bacteria and you're putting it on our mats and we start getting, ringworm and staph and these other things, that's going to be an issue, right? But as long as you come in clean with a good attitude, you don't injure anybody, anybody's welcome. And I think that's a switch up from a lot of other gyms of what they're comfortable with. Obviously, if we have our competition team and things like that, people will be expected to show up to certain practices. We will be off the competition team. That's fair because it's a competition team, right? We're potentially traveling to help you, coaching you, spending our time and our resources and our energy helping you. So we have a certain expectation on that. But just for classes and coming to train, welcome in, But then again, on the flip side of that, you're going to be judged on your reputation. If you're somebody in the community, you'll be looked at for how kind you are, how nice you are, how, respectful you are of everybody on the mat. Because there's some people in the area that I don't want training with me, if I'm being honest, and that's fine. I'm going to tell them, hey man, I'm not comfortable with you being here. You're not allowed. And that's something fair that I can do as a business owner, right? But for everybody else, you're welcome. We want everybody there.
Yeah. That's great, man. I really do look forward to seeing, because I know y'all are going to be successful. Like I said, when I walked into that place, I guess a week or two ago, just looking around, it's like something, I've never seen a gym like this, So it's an environment that's going to be top of the line.
Yeah.
It's going to be competition, competitors that are top of the line. So I really do think that y'all are just bringing everything together, and we'll be the top facility in Dallas.
Thanks, Gordy. Yeah,
Soon.
that's the plan. That's the plan.
Yep.
One of the last things I wanted to say, we're actually looking at, like I said, 30-foot ceilings. I believe it was like an old racquetball. Some of the walls were like old racquetball courts and things like that. So the walls are pristine and white. And we're actually, one of my good buddies, Sandeep, he has his master's in architecture and art. And so he's going to be coming in and kind of doing like almost like a gallery space in there with a lot of art. And what he does, which is very interesting, he comes in with drones, and he'll come in with pictures. And we already started doing this. And he'll take a lot of these still photo shots and these videos, and he'll map out the movement of jiu-jitsu, translate that into an art piece, and then also he's a trained classical pianist who'll create music out of these shapes, which is just incredible. And so then it's really cool. And so
Wow.
yeah, so we're going to be having kind of like it's just going to be a really nice space, right? Something really special, and then the art's going to be special. And we just want to curate something that's really cool. So shout out to Sandeep for helping out. I've trained with him the last couple of years, and he's tough, man. I respect toughness, and I didn't even know he was a G like that outside of it. He showed up a few days ago. I was like, man, I didn't know you did all this. He's like, yeah. And so I love the humility. I love the toughness. So yeah, it'll be pretty cool.
Get that website up. Get that address on there so people can come by and check it out. Get that phone number going, right? I think you're going to have a lot of people that want to come by.
So if you guys want to check us out, we're on Instagram, just under The Grappling Institute, just all together. If you search that, you can find us. You can also hit me up on my direct page, which is just my full name, Steffen Banta. I'm sure we'll tag that in the comments or on the bio for this video. But yeah, just come and check us out. Shoot me a DM, shoot Laurence a DM. Our bios are attached inside. Our our accounts are attached inside the bio for our Instagram page, which is, again, The Grappling Institute. So, come and check it out, give us a follow, and kind of follow our journey and stop by.
Awesome.
Well, great, Steffen, man. We couldn't be happier for you.
Thanks,
Can't
Randy.
wait to come check it out.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's going to be awesome.
I'm just ecstatic for you guys. I know you're going to crush it.
Thank you. Again, also another thing, shout out to Randy. He's going to be coming by, and hopefully we can make that a regular thing, and be teaching a lot of self-defense classes and a lot of corporate stuff there as well. So it'll kind of be a center hub for high-level people, right? We're going to have high-level jiu-jitsu guys, high-level business people there, high-level just people, high-level, from the tactical side and the warrior mindset over here, just high-level everybody, right? Entrepreneurs, like, it's just going to be kind of our end goal is to create a place where you go, you learn something badass, you spend a lot of time around really unique and interesting people, create beautiful friendships, and learn an amazing skill and develop a passion for jiu-jitsu in a safe environment where you don't get injured and where you feel comfortable, where you trust everybody in the environment.
Yeah.
It's
going to be amazing.
Thanks, Gordy.
I do look forward to it. So that's about all I have. Any questions?
Oh, no, I mean, that's it. That's it, yeah.
No, man. I think everyone's just excited.
Yep. Couple more days. Well, I appreciate y'all watching the Patriot Point show today. Again, it's the Grappling Institute. It will be open soon. If any questions, concerns, thanks for watching. See you next time.